Hey guys, let's talk about doing the perfect write-up. So we've talked about sales, and one of the first things that we always learn is that the sale begins on write-up. So you've already spoke with a customer, and you did the perfect ring ring, and now they're coming to your front counter. So you've got them in the door, you said yes, and they just walked in, and here they are, and here you are with your computer. And the first thing we always teach is a huge smile. This guy has some weird, he kind of looks creepy, but you get what I'm saying. Huge smile. They walk in. Why? Because the customer is in pain. They wouldn't come to your store if they weren't in pain. So we talk about the sale begins at write up. Sale begins here. So there's just some tips and rules for the perfect write up. Smile right out of the gate. The customer must be greeted within 3 seconds. Now, they've done a lot of research on this. When a customer comes in your shop, they're going to judge you within the first 3 seconds. So if you don't greet them and they wait, already you're starting the sale on a bad note. So if you want to make a sale, you got to greet that customer right out of the gate. So those are some of the tips that right out of the gate, I can tell you, if you just do smile and you greet them on 3-second rule, you're already starting ahead of most people. The next thing is huge. So we talked about the definition of sales, and we will get to that in the isolation video. But the definition of sales is simply overcoming objections. Let me explain to you what that means. If a customer comes into your shop and they just throw their credit card at you and say, fix my car, here's a credit card, charge me whatever you want, are you really selling anything? And the answer is no. We've always said it that the sale begins at no. When a customer says no, or anybody that you're selling to, that's when you start to sell. Because anybody that wants to say no and you can convert that no into a yes, you have now sold something to them. And when you get a no, usually you say why, and then that is where they give you their objections. I don't have the time, I don't have the money, the car is not worth it, I didn't know it was going to be this much, I don't trust you guys. Whatever that may be, you understand that the sale begins when the customer says no, and when you are able to overcome an objection, that's when you are a salesperson. I hope that makes sense. So then we talk about, if overcoming objections is sales, what's the best way to overcome an objection? And we've always learned this in sales. The best way to overcome an objection is to never have one. Right? The best way to overcome an objection, right? The best way is to never have an objection to begin with. And then the question is, Zane, how do you never have an objection? I'm glad you asked. You never have an objection because you have already prepared enough. You've already prepared to the point where you can actually oversee the customer's objection before you even have one. And you've already worked that into your pitch. So we talk about sales is overcoming objections, and the best way to overcome objections is to never have one, and to never have an objections, you have to be prepared. So can we easily say that if you prepare every single time, you will be able to sell, right? So then by definition, sales means preparing, right? Again, I'll repeat this once again because people don't get it twisted. The definition of sales is to overcome objections, and the best way to overcome an objection is to never have one, and the best way to never have an objection is to prepare. So therefore, the definition of sales is preparing the sale. And going back to our first video, what percent of customer behavior did we say is predictable? 95%, we said. Customer behavior is predictable, right? We talked about how cars have changed, technology has changed, but how customers feel about a broken car has not changed in the last 40 years. People are still upset, they're still in pain, They want it done as fast and as cheap as possible, and they don't want to spend money on auto repair. And I don't think that's going to change in the next 40 years. I don't think anybody is going to wake up, maybe that odd end person, but 99% of people are not going to wake up saying, oh my gosh, I get to buy that water pump today. Just not seeing it. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. So let's go back to this, guys. So write-ups is where the sale begins. This is huge, right? This is the first step. This is, if you mess up the write-up, you are starting on a bad foot and you're probably not going to sell. So how does all of this relate? If preparing is selling, how can we incorporate that with a write-up? Is there such a thing as a perfect write-up? And I'm glad you asked, because there is. Because the sale begins here and you smile, check, preparing. 3-second rule, check, preparing. And now this is where things get interesting. If your job is to overcome objections, the write-up is the perfect place for you to find potential objections. You can actually ask questions, and believe it or not, the customers will answer them for you. And those questions you will use as discovery, right? You have to ask a minimum of 5 to 7 questions on write-up. That's part of the job. That's part of the job. So what kind of questions will you ask? You'll ask questions on, well, how long have you had the car? And I'm even using my own script here while I'm doing this meeting, because I believe that nobody is too good to not look at the script. In life, you get to do that. So how long had the car? Why are you asking that? Because if they just bought this car, are they going to be willing to fix it? Yeah. Well, I'm going to get rid of this car. Well, if they said I bought it yesterday, they're probably not going to tell you that they're going to get rid of it when you go to sell that ticket. How about, when's the last time you had the service? Last service. Why? Well, you want to know if this customer spent any money on this car. And it could go both ways. If they really love the car, they get it serviced. If they haven't had it serviced and they want to keep it forever, they would be okay spending some money because they haven't spent any money. They've expected that big repair in their budget. How about this one? Is this your only car? I love this one because if this is their only car, are they going to get it fixed? Yeah, most likely, especially in our area where everybody depends on cars. So that's a huge part of it. How can we make your visit better today? That's a question I do like. It's not a mandatory question, but it can kind of tell you what the customer's expectations are and what's important to them. Have you had any issues that are bigger than the normal repair, right? Issues that are big with a car? Have you had any big issues in the past? And if they're like, yeah, this car's a piece of crap, I had to put an engine in it, now I'm putting a trans in it, it just gives you the landscape of what the objections may be, right? And there's a lot more on these deals. You can actually have a list of questions we can actually give you the script on, and I would encourage you to have that with you whenever you're writing up a customer. Another thing that these questions do, ladies and gentlemen, is that it builds rapport, right? It allows you rapport. It allows you to kind of just have a conversation. And what it also does is it makes the customer show that you care, right? You're not just like, oh, let me get your keys, get out of here, right? It's such an important thing to be able to connect with that customer, and they're able to see that you're able to ask them questions and really get under the the hood of the car. Now, as you're doing this, you're already selling. So again, you're asking questions and you're already selling. And you're like, Zane, what am I selling? Well, easy. First of all, what you're selling is you're selling the car. How do you sell the car? Well, you tell them how great that car is. You drive a Toyota. Me too. Oh man, those Toyotas last forever, right? Oh yeah, that car has an incredible engine. And you could kind of, showcase your experience. That we do a ton of those. We do a ton of Toyotas, BMWs, Chevys. Oh my gosh, we actually do a ton of Chevys. So you're able to show that customer that car, right? What you're doing is you're saying that car is worth the investment. And remember, everything connects to that objection. So if they're like, how long have you had the car? I've had it for 3 years. Oh yeah, they last forever. They're great. When they come back, the car's not worth it. You've already kind of built that buffer for you. The next thing you're selling is you're selling the shop. And you can kind of put those hand in hand, right? Most of these are going to kind of blend in together, right? As you're asking questions, you're responding, right? You're responding with, you're kind of just selling the whole idea of fixing the car. There you go. You're selling the shop. our experience. We have so many people on staff that can do this. We have a master tech. We've done a ton of these cars. We specialize in blank. We specialize in brakes, right? We really do. We do a ton of brakes. Thank you, sir. Then you're selling the technician. I got Mike back there. He's been working on cars for 20 years. And you want to name the technician, right? You want to name Masood. You want to name Mike. You want to name Brandon. You want to name some of the fine guys in the back that we have that are incredible with cars. These guys are incredible. And the last step that you're doing is you are setting expectations, right? So again, let's go back to the beginning. Right out of the gate, you're greeting the customer. This is step one. You're asking questions. That's step two. And then you're selling the work simultaneously in step two. And then finally, in step three, you are set expectations. And you want to set clear expectations. And by clear expectations, what I mean is you're going to tell them the next step, what we're going to do, we're going to actually pull your car in, Miss Jones, and we're going to check it out. I know your check engine light's on. It's going to take us about 15 minutes to scan. It's absolutely free. Then I'll come back and give you the codes. After that, we'll go from there. What's going on? I'll show you the codes. Yes, Miss Jones, I'm going to send you a picture of the scan. We actually look at everything. We take photographs and we send them to you. That way you know what's going on. And from there, we'll know what the next step is. Absolutely free. And then the time, the rough idea, right? What you're going to do and the time estimate. And you know what the time? If you're going to call them in 30 minutes, you tell them you're going to call them in 40 minutes. So that way you buy your extra time, so that way you always under promise and over deliver. The old saying that never goes out of style. That's what you're trying to do with setting expectations. Guys, if you do this, this is the basics of how to get a good sale. I promise you, you will never go bad. The sale begins at write-up. If you understand this is the first step in the selling process, once that customer comes in the counter, they're in pain. You greet them with a smile. You use the 3-second rule. You don't let the customer wait. You find the objections by asking the questions right out of the gate while building rapport so that they know that you care. And simultaneously, you're selling them the car. So you ask a question, how long have you had the car? You respond with, that's a wonderful car. That car lasts forever. When's the last service? Okay, good. That's pretty normal. We can get that done. Is that your only car? Absolutely, we can get that done for you. And you know, by the way, Mike's the best at these brake jobs. He's done a ton of them. And you can kind of build that rapport and energy, and they can see you're an expert. And not only that, this allows you to get a consistent write-up experience on every level, because the best writers understand this. And you end with perfect expectations, so they know when they should get a call, and they understand what you're going to do, and the next time you're going to get a point of contact with them. If you do this, guys, you're going to have a beautiful write-up, a good, smooth customer experience. You're going to get that jitters out of the customer. They're going to feel very good, and when you call them, they will expect you to sell them some auto repair, and you will know exactly the landscape that you're treading. I hope that's helpful. The next video we'll do will be in isolations, and then we're going to go to PMIs. Thank you very much.